Welcome back to the build series. I'm Corey Fields, and today we're moving from concrete to construction. Today we start framing. Last episode we poured 3 slabs in one day, and now those slabs are about to become real homes. With one framing crew, phased lumber deliveries, and a stick build approach, we are tackling all 3 homes efficiently while keeping everything on schedule. Let's get into it. Building 3 homes side by side isn't just about volume, it's about efficiency. We're repeating the same steps, the same materials, and the same crew will flow across all 3 builds, which cuts down on wasted time and keeps costs tight. Framing moves fast when everything is lined up correctly. Each of these houses took 5 to 6 days from slab to fully framed. When the crew has a clean foundation, materials ready, and a clear plan, there's no wasted time. Sometimes you see houses sitting in framing for weeks. That's usually because of poor scheduling or missing materials, and we don't have time for that. With a tight process, we keep it moving, house after house. This phase is all about the skeleton, walls, floors, and the roof structure. Bringing in all the lumber at once sounds efficient until your site turns into a mess or your materials start growing legs and walk off the job site. That's why we brought in materials only when we needed them. We scheduled deliveries in phases, starting with walls, joists, and beams for house 1. Once framing was done there, the next load came in for house 2. No wasted space and no stacks of materials sitting around getting in the way. We worked closely with our lumber supplier to make sure each load had exactly what we needed for the stage we were in. Running out of materials mid-framing isn't an option. A lot of people either overbuy or waste money or underorder and lose time. We made sure everything was accounted for before each phase started. Instead of piling everything in one place, we staged the materials right where they'd be used, directly in front of each build. No digging through stacks, no carrying materials across the site, and we kept the crew moving efficiently. A well-organized job site doesn't just save time, it keeps the entire build on track. If you're spending half the day looking through materials, you're doing it wrong. With materials staged and ready, the framing crew could hit the ground running. But even with everything lined up, framing isn't just about speed, it's about precision. And if you don't catch mistakes early, they snowball into bigger problems later. Let's talk about some of the biggest framing pitfalls and how we made sure they never became real problems. If your slab isn't perfectly square, everything after that is a fight. Walls don't align, corners don't sit right, and trim work turns into a nightmare. We triple checked our slab's dimensions before framing. If something was off, we caught it early, before the walls were standing. This is why you see some houses with awkward gaps or crooked walls, because the problem started at the foundation. But even if your slab is perfect, your plans might not be. That's where we ran into the next potential problem. Things on paper that don't always work in real life. Plan discrepancies, when blueprints miss reality. Even the best architects miss things. A closet might look great on paper, but in reality, it needs to be cut in half to make room for a chase. Or you realize too late that there's no room for your furnace. And now you're stuck adding mini splits to the exterior, and that's a terrible look. By framing house 1 first, we caught these issues before they became real problems. House 2 and 3 went up smoothly because we fixed all the headaches up front. Catching design issues early saved us time, but the biggest time killer on a framing job is missing materials. If your guys are halfway through framing the roof and they're short on rafters, guess what? You're done for the day. We made sure every lumber takeoff and mechanical spec was checked before we even started. That way, no one was standing around waiting for materials. Framing a house is a process, but framing 3, that takes strategy. Instead of treating each house like a separate job, we ran this project like an assembly line. Think of a car factory. One team handles the chassis, another handles the engine, and another handles the interior. Instead of framing all 3 houses at once, we kept one crew moving in sequence. Any small mistakes or adjustments on house 1, we corrected them immediately before moving on. And by house 3, framing was on autopilot. With this approach, the crew stay busy, no wasted time, no rework, and that's the key to keeping these builds on schedule and on budget. This approach doesn't stop with framing. We're carrying it through to roofing, siding, interiors, everything. The more we refine the process, the smoother the entire build runs. When it comes to framing a roof, you got 2 main options, trusses or stick framing. A lot of builders choose trusses because they're faster, but faster isn't always better. Let's talk about why some builders swear by trusses and why we thought they weren't the right choice for these houses. Pre-manufactured roof trusses. They're designed off-site, shipped in, and often lifted up with a crane. They work great in big developments when you have plenty of staging space and everything is lined up perfectly. Trusses speed up installs if everything is precise, but when you're working with infill lots, tight spaces, and existing infrastructure, they can sometimes create more headaches than solutions. One issue with trusses, they demand precision. If your foundation is off by even half an inch, trusses don't flex or adjust. You're stuck figuring out how to make them fit. And then there's logistics. Cranes, deliveries, and massive truss frames all need space. On a project like this, or working from house to house, that kind of setup just doesn't make sense. For these builds, stick framing made the most sense. With stick framing, we build the roof on site, one board at a time. That means no oversized deliveries, no crane rentals, and no waiting around for a manufacturer's timeline. But the biggest advantage, flexibility. If we need to shift a rafter and make room for an interior detail, we can make that call on the spot. We're not locked into a predetermined layout that can't be adjusted. That flexibility is exactly why stick framing was the right choice for these builds. The goal is control and efficiency. No waiting on crane schedules, no extra deliveries, just steady progress from slab to structure. And that's it on framing. 3 houses, 1 crew, moving from house to house with a clean, efficient process. We kept things tight with stick-built roofs, phased lumber drops, and we caught problems early before they could slow us down. Now that the structure's up, it's time to lock it all down. In episode 5, we're tackling the drying phase, which means house wrap, windows, roofing, everything we need to get these houses sealed up, weather tight, and ready for interior work. If you got questions about our framing process, drop a comment below. And if you've been enjoying the series, hit that like button so you don't miss what's next. I'm Corey Fields, and thanks for watching episode 4 of the Build series. I'll see you guys in the next one.